Now to episode 1 of our classic serial Barry Lyndon from Thackeray's novel about the rise and fall of an 18th century Irish adventurer, dramatised by Don McCanfill.
The Memoirs of Barry Lyndon, Esquire, of the Kingdom of Ireland, containing an account of his extraordinary adventures, misfortunes, and valorous deeds, his visits to the courts of Europe, his splendid establishments in England and Ireland, and the many and cruel persecutions, conspiracies, calumnies, and slanders of which he has been a victim. Written in this year of our Lord, 1815, at London. I had the good fortune to be born a Barry of Barry Og in the Kingdom of Ireland in 1741, during the reign of His Majesty King George II. Now, while I despise heartily the boasting of many of my countrymen, who are all for descending from the High Kings of Ireland, and have grand domains no bigger than would feed a pig, yet truth compels me to assert that my family was the noblest of the county, and perhaps of the entire island. My dear noble father was none other than Roaring Harry Barry, who rode the famous match against Captain Punter on Epsom Downs before His late Majesty King George II. And although he was only the second son of the family, my father came into his inheritance as a true gentleman, as often my dear mother has told me with pride. His older brother, Cornelius Barry, known as the Chevalier de Barry, stuck by the old religion when it was illegal and served against His Sacred Majesty in the unfortunate Scotch disturbances of '45. My father, never one to allow religion to mar his fortunes, and encouraged by my dear mother, who was not for marrying a papist or a pauper, laid the necessary information against his brother and converted, thereby coming into his inheritance. This caused a certain coolness between the brothers, and my good uncle left to join the rebels abroad. My father knew how to live like a gentleman, liked to eat and play, liked his Sillery for breakfast, claret with lunch, and cognac at supper. In fact, in matters of fine living, he so far outstripped the best of his peers that he died very young and very sudden of a burst heart at Chester races, leaving me without a farthing in the world when I was still a boy. I was devastated, and my dear mother was utterly heartbroken. And as my mother was now penniless and could not afford to keep a large household, we were turned out of our home. We were thus forced to accept the use of a small cottage on the estate of my mother's brother, Squire Michael Brady of Castle Brady. My mother christened our little home Barryville. I made sure the boys of the village knew of my noble origins, for which honesty I was often severely abused.
Edmund, Lord save us and bless us. Look at you. You black and blue. What happened, boy?
They were horrible to me. They all called me names. They said my father was a drunk.
The pigs!
They said he was a solicitor's clerk.
Oh, my son. Defend your name with your blood, ready, my boy, with your voice and your heart and your teeth and your nails, if need be. Come inside.
Unfortunately, though, my mother had not the means to support us in the height of fashion, and with great reluctance agreed that I should be allowed to stay with my uncle Michael Brady and his family at Castle Brady. My principal companions at Castle Brady were my cousins, Mick, Nora, and Ulick. The loss of my honourable father and my removal from the family home at such a young age marked me deeply, and I determined never to forget the dignity of my lineage, nor to meekly play the part of the poor relative. This led inevitably to conflict with my eldest cousin Mick, a dreadful snob and a bully, and I was often called upon to knock him down a peg.
Have you had enough yet, Barry, you impudent scum?
You're still not fit to scrub my boots, McBrady.
Impudent little pup. He hasn't tuppence. He lives under our roof.
Mick!
And he has the nerve to call me a peasant.
Leave him be, Mick. He's had enough. He's near unconscious.
He'll come round.
I was a brave and high-spirited young lad, and for my part I was glad of the chance to take him on and prove my courage to his sister Nora.
Miss Nora, what are you doing?
Ah, dear cousin Redmond. I'm collecting gooseberries for dessert.
Well, you have quite a lot. Might a young gentleman be permitted to sample your fruit?
Oh, sir.
Very tasty.
You may kiss me if you like.
Really?
Yes, just here. On the cheek. And now I must go and dress for dinner.
Do you love me, Nora?
Oh, and Mama said to tell you that we're having guests to dinner tonight. You're to go to your mother's. Goodbye, Redmond.
At the time of our courtship, the French were threatening the royal domains in Hanover, and the Stuart Pretender being then at the French court, an invasion of Ireland was especially looked to. In all parts of the kingdom, regiments of horse and foot were raised to resist the threat, and Bradystown sent a company to join the Kilwangan regiment, of which Master Mick was a captain. He would come to and fro the castle with his fellow officers in their scarlet jackets, with gilt buttons and epaulets, and the shameless coquetries of Miss Nora, in her unvarying attentions to these gentlemen, were enough to make me half mad.
Why have you been avoiding me? You said you'd dance with me.
Perhaps on another occasion. My card is full tonight.
I have been sitting waiting for you to keep your promise me half the night. You said I was your dearly beloved. You'd dance with me.
Well, unfortunately, I have more important people to dance with, Redmond. Now, please go away. I am waiting for Captain Quinn of the Fencibles to ask me to dance again, and he assuredly will not do so while you are sitting there.
Well, if that Quinn begins to stray onto my territory, he'll pay for it. I'll meet him like a man.
You would fight over me? Oh, how noble, how valorous.
So will you dance with me?
My dear cousin, you are but 15 years old and haven't a guinea in the world. You are a penniless little boy. I am a grown woman. Besides, to dance with one's cousin at a ball looks as if one could find no other partner.
You may scoff at me now, madam, but I will not always be a boy, and someday I'll have money and position suitable to my birth. You'll see!
Ah, Captain Quinn. I thought you had forgotten me.
Quit your damn noise, boy. How dare you humiliate my sister in front of half the county, brat? Now, if you've any sense, you'll keep out of John Quinn's way. He's a big man, and he doesn't take kindly to fools like you shouting at his bride-to-be.
What? No, she can't!
Yes, she can. And you're not to cause any trouble, brat, or I'll give you a good tramping, all right? Quinn has 8,000 of an inheritance, not to mention land.
And 1,500 a year.
And Castle Brady needs repairs. Do I make myself clear?
I repaired to Barryville that evening, and next day I pinned a ribbon the foolish girl had given me on my breast and ran to the castle, brisk as a young fawn, little knowing what horrid, sickening sight I would see as I passed the gardens of Castle Brady, which would dash my hopes most violently.
No, my dear. Apart from yourself, I have never been singed by the tender flame of love.
Oh, John.
Nora!
Oh, no, it's my cousin.
You! Woman of no honour! You have betrayed me with him!
Now, steady on, young fellow. Fagin!
You, sir! Captain Quinn! I demand satisfaction from you. I demand a meeting, sir.
Really? There's no need. I mean... Fagin, there you are.
What's the trouble here, Quinn?
God help you, Redmond Barty, if you're causing trouble again.
Brady, I've had quite enough of your Irish manners. I pay my respects to your sister, sir, and find she has another lover. A schoolboy, too. And he assaults me here and wants a meeting.
I demand one.
These are most assuredly not our English ways, sir. So if you'll kindly settle the sum you owe me, I will resign all claims to this young lady. Captain Fagin and I will be off.
Friend Quinn, Surely you're joking me.
I was never in greater earnest, sir.
By heaven, then look to yourself, infernal seducer! You would dishonour my sister, wind your toils round her heart and leave her, and fancy her brother won't defend her!
Why, this is too much. Fagin, surely you won't let two of them murder me?
You may settle your own quarrels, Quinn. What do you think, young fella? He's like a donkey, betwixt two bundles of hay.
He is, Captain, and rich pickings on either side.
Do you intend to keep your word to my sister, Quinn?
Of course I do, sir.
Then you must meet with me. Honour demands it.
No. Well, I mean...
Nora!
I must return to barracks. Fagin, I shall see you back there.
Ulick, quick, get after Quinn. Make sure he doesn't try and duck out of it.
Right so.
Nora? Nora!
Young Mr. Barry, I think you'll find if you leave the lady be, she'll come round on her own.
I shall die. I know I shall.
The captain's not gone yet, miss.
John! John, where are you going? John!
As for you, Barry...
My Uncle Michael was all for calming my inflamed passions with a generous portion of the horsewhip, Cousin Mick being only too happy to serve it to me. And it was only through the kind intervention of Fagin, Quinn's companion, that I was spared.
Tomorrow, at first light, the crossroads above the village. I'll be your second. Mick Brady's to be Quinn's. Ulick will call the Count. We won't withdraw.
Certainly not.
How can he? 'Tis absurd.
I'm a Barry of Barryogue. I'd sooner die.
You see, he'll cut that English Quinn to ribbons, won't you, my boy?
Yes, madam, I will.
Well, good. Then it's settled. Though I must say you're as game a lad as ever I met. But you do well in the future not to see jewels over every slight.
That night I slept as soundly as a baby, though I awoke a little earlier than usual, feeling very hungry, and looking forward with great excitement to the event of the day.
Right now, Fagin. Is your man ready?
He is.
Well then.
What's it to be, Quinn?
It's, pistols.
Ulick. Right you are.
Good luck, Redmond.
On the count of 10.
Could we make it 3?
Yeah, 3 is better for me too.
3 then.
1, 2, 3.
God help us, he's dead!
I've killed him!
Oh, dear. That's a bad one.
'Tis. And him an officer too.
I got him! I got him!
Oh, you'll have to flee, Redmond. They'll hang you for this if they get you.
True. Come on, lad. Let's get you back to your mother's.
You may tell your faithless sister, sirs, that Quinn's corpse is all that's left of the 2 lovers she had and ruined.
Come on.
My Redmond! Oh, son! Good lad. Is he dead?
He is, madam. I shot him down.
Well done, boy. May hell roast him.
Redmond needs to get away from here, Lady Barry.
Of course. He's a fugitive now.
Gather what clothes and trinkets you have by, and I'll get your horse saddled. There. That's you now. I'd make for Dublin and then to France, if I were you.
Thank you, Captain.
Here, boy. Take this. 'Tis all I have.
Dear mother, I can't take this.
Take it, you'll need it. Just be careful, Redmond.
Don't be worried for me, mother. I'll do my father and my noble name proud, and I'll come back to you in great wealth and splendour. You'll see.
Well, best of luck, my boy.
Thank you, Captain. I'm sorry I had to kill your friend.
Not to worry now.
Goodbye, mother.
God protect you in your exile, my boy. Remember always, you're a Barry of Barryogue.
And so I took my leave of my beloved mother and my home, quite possibly forever. And it was not without deep sadness in my heart, for I have often been quite a sentimental person. Still, it was my first taste of freedom, and the delight of that liberty stayed always with me. I rode for Dublin on my big mare, my mother's worldly wealth jingling in my pocket, and felt every inch a young gallant. I stopped at an inn at Carlow for refreshment, and had not long started for Dublin again when I had the chance to prove my gallantry, coming upon a lady in distress.
Help! Thieves! Robbers! Oh, secure!
The lady in question introduced herself as Madame Fitzsimons, wife of Captain Fitzsimons, and, being a fugitive from the authorities, I saw fit to tell her I was the young Lord Redmond of Castle Redmond.
To join the captain, my husband, in Dublin, when these villainous robbers rode up and made off with all our valuables. My purse, containing 100 guineas at least, and my jewels and snuff boxes, watches, the captain's diamond shoe buckles, and that oaf of a footman stood and watched, armed though he was. Didn't you useless oaf?
Perhaps your ladyship would permit me to ride to Dublin alongside as her protector, to prevent further mishaps.
Oh, Lord Redmond, would you? I'd be deeply in your debt.
It would be a pleasure.
So now, would you be the Kildare Redmonds or the Wexford Redmonds?
Well, we're really the Tipperary branch.
The Tipperary Redmonds. I'm with you now.
I'm on my way up to the college to begin my studies. My mother has allowed me 500 a year. I hope that'll be enough.
Oh, it'll be more than enough. I'm sure.
So, your husband's seat is in Donegal?
Oh, yes. The captain is heir to Fitzsimonsburg Castle, surely the finest mansion in Ireland, and 100,000 acres in North Donegal, though we live at Dublin presently. My husband had an unfortunate...
As night fell, we arrived in Dublin, which seemed as wondrous to me as Rome. We drew up at a small, rather rough-looking house, where we were greeted by Fitzsimons himself, a stout, red-faced man in a tattered nightgown and cap.
Seamus, go up to Finnegan's there and get a couple of lobsters for the gentleman's supper. My dear, could you sort Seamus out?
I'm sorry, my love. I haven't a groat.
Oh.
Sure wasn't I robbed, remember?
Ah, so you were, that's right.
Well, if I could be so bold...
Blazes, Murphy, look at the bag of sovereigns your man has.
Lord Redmond, you are too kind. Oh, we couldn't, really.
No, please, I'd be...
You're a true gentleman.
Yes.
Here, Seamus. Make sure they're good uns, too.
So, my young lord, are you partial yet to your Madeira?
Thank you, yes.
Good. Your health, sir.
And yours.
Tell me, sir, do you play cards?
I lodged there for some weeks, during which time Fitzsimons introduced me to his tailor, blacksmith, saddler, vintner, jeweller, and, like most young men away from home for the first time, I spent liberally at each, first in cash and later on credit. Everywhere we went, Fitzsimons introduced me as Lord Redmond, and spoke admiringly of my lineage and fortune, such that the tradesmen of Dublin were more than anxious to advance goods against my signature. I also joined the captain's gaming school.
11. Your call, Redmond.
All right, gentlemen. PK.
PK a tisser.
The company was always from the best of Dublin society. Senior clerics, the third and fourth sons of provincial noblemen, young army officers, and I had no doubt that I, who was wanted for killing a man, had landed in the most fashionable company that Ireland had to offer. However, as I tended to lose in cash and win in promissory notes, my mother's stocking full of sovereigns was quickly depleted, and I was forced to pawn some of my more extravagant purchases in order to keep up the appearance of a young noble such as I was claiming to be. And I learned to lose on my signature. Thus was I able to enjoy a comfortable lifestyle without difficulty, until one day I went to collect my mare from the livery stable.
Well, sir, there's a wee bit owing for that big mare of yours there, sir.
Well, I'll sign for it.
No, that'll hardly do, sir. There's 2 other bills still outstanding on her. I can't survive without cash, as you know, sir.
Damn you. All right, look. I have here a note of hand from the young Marquis of Westmeath, which should cover it.
Are you having a laugh at me now, sir? Sure, that boy's penniless. Everyone knows it.
Well, what about this one from Lieutenant Maguire?
Hey, Ned! Did you get this, fella? Here's notes of hand from Lieutenant Maguire.
Well, what about this one from Captain Fitzsimons himself?
Young sir, these men are paupers one and all. It's the biggest gang of swindlers in the whole of Dublin you've fallen in with. You've been had.
I beg your pardon. Captain Fitzsimons is heir to the Fitzsimonsburg estate in Donegal.
Them's the Fitzsimonses, not the Fitzsimonses. Himself has no claim on any estate or inheritance anywhere in Ireland or beyond. I'm sure the rest of them are no better. Take my advice, son, and pay your bill. Then you can ride back home to your mammy.
It seemed my luck had run out, and I resolved to flee Dublin. I returned to my little chamber at Fitzsimon's house, hoping to collect my things and escape unnoticed.
What are you doing in my valise?
Oh, well now, who have we here?
If it isn't Mr. Redmond Barry.
The deceiver who came into our home.
Oh, the thought of it.
And lied about his identity, his lineage, and his fortune. You, sir, are nothing but a liar.
How dare you?
Oh, do you deny it?
He denies it.
And the evidence right here in your own bag.
I do not deny it, but I have done no worse than you yourself, Fitzsimons.
Oh, but you have, unhappy boy, you have. You've signed for credit, and under what name? Under an assumed name, a crime worthy of the just revenge of law.
Perhaps I have, sir, but I'm a Barry of Barryogue. I'm wanted for killing a man as it stands, and I'll run you through if you try to prevent my escape.
Get out. Go on. Get out. Flee. I'll not stop you. But I hope never to see your face again, Redmond Barry.
I was in desperation. I could not return home, and I was a wanted man in Dublin. I took the only course open to a lad in my position. I joined the army. At that time, His Majesty, George II, was busy raising armies to fight alongside the Prussians against the perfidious French. I volunteered, and within 24 hours was aboard ship for Germany, leaving the fair green isle, my homeland, far behind. My heart was very low. The conditions aboard ship were indescribable. The ship itself was a creaking old hulk with no sanitation, and the company composed of the most dreadful criminals, murderers, simpletons and peasants in Ireland, men in desperate straits. On my second evening at sea, I had sound reason to complain, and complain I did, when my dinner was served to me on a greasy tin plate.
I can't possibly eat off that. You may be used to eating from a trough, fellow, but I'm not.
The bleeding nerve! I'll stove your head in, you little scrunt.
You might try if you're as stupid as you are ugly.
Redmond Barry! Take your hands off him, O'Toole, you little cappler.
Captain Fagan!
Give us a kiss, my boy. In the name of God, lad, what are you doing here?
Oh, well, fortune has thought to test me, sir, and I've fallen on hard times. I'm very glad to see you, Captain.
And I you. Come on, let's get out of this stinking hellhole. Come on up to my cabin.
So, you see, between gaming and keeping up an appearance, I was soon broke.
Fate, you started early, my boy. Thought it was plain to see you're a gentleman to your blood. This might hurt a bit.
Ah!
Aye, you got a right old knocking. There now. Hold that to the wound.
Whatever happened to Nora after I left?
Nora? She got married, of course.
Married? Was she utterly insensitive? To whom?
Why, to John Quinn.
Quinn? Wasn't he killed?
Well, no. He recovered from his wound, you see. The ball you hit him with was not likely to hurt him. The whole thing was a setup.
What?
Quinn was to call pistols, and Mick had the pistols already loaded with bullets of tow. Do you think the Bradys will let you kill £1,500 a year out of the family?
Did you know about this?
I must confess, dear boy, that I did. I was in the private employ throughout of your good Uncle Michael to ensure the matter went through smoothly.
You surprise me, Captain.
I'll soon learn, lad. Such are the ways of the world. Quinn sold me his commission and took up the life of a country squire. And then we get the call up. Just typical, really.
It was all a plot to get rid of me.
It was a plot to get rid of the mortgage. Oh, Quinn paid that off too. Don't take it so personally, lad. That's just the way things go. Forget about Nora Quinn. We haven't time for such thoughts now. We're off to fight the French, my boy. Off to war.
Captain Fagan proved to be my salvation and chief guardian, protecting me from the many petty cruelties visited on the men by their officers. And it was a great benefit to me to have an experienced man by my side on the occasion of my first major military engagement at Minden in the year 1759.
Heaven help us!
Keep your head down!
Oh, this is fierce!
Come behind! Red man!
I've got him!
Oh, mama!
He's dead.
I'd say he is. Just hold your nerve, lad. You'll be all worth it soon. Right. It's quieting down. Let's go earn a few shillings.
What did you say?
Plunder, my lad. It's what the business of war is all about. Start with yon French fella you stabbed there. Check his pockets.
Captain, sir, I am a gentleman of a noble Irish family, and I'll not descend.
I don't like it any more than you, lad. But it's the only way to make a profit by war. So look around ya. Everybody's at it.
Well...
What is it?
Sugar plums. Very tasty.
I soon got used to the soldiering life, and soon found it fitted to my nature. But at Warburg, things went badly for me.
Well, lad, here we go again.
Here we go again.
If you should find any more nice sweets...
Don't worry, I'll keep you half.
Good lad.
Captain Fagan! Fagan!
These are the instruments of war. Thus do your great warriors and kings advance their murderous work in the world, through the sufferings of poor starving brutes nursed in poverty and schooled in cruelty, made to take pride in deeds of blood. In Captain Fagan I lost the dearest companion of my boyhood, and once again found myself friendless and alone. Now that he was gone, I was the victim of many grudges and petty jealousies.
Private Soldier Redmond Barry. Insubordination, 800 lashes. First man of the line. 1. 2.
I determined thereafter to remove as far as possible from military glory at the earliest opportunity.
You there! Help me, please! I'll pay you, please.
Where are you wounded, sir?
It's my leg. Here.
Where's the money?
Here. I'll give you 2 shillings if you get me my horse and take me back to the village. Oh! Oh!
Thank you very much.
You blackguard! I'll have you hanged for this!
One death's as good as the next, and I've had enough of military glory. I'm for Ireland. Anything's better than this. Strip!
My proper station was of course restored in my new uniform, and when on the road I fell into the company of a Prussian officer, I was duly obliged to create an identity to go along with it.
Have you far to go, mein Lieutenant?
To Bremen. I have a dispatch of great importance for General Grimstone.
Ah, indeed. Then I will ride alongside, if you have no objection. I am en route to Lippstadt.
No, of course. Delighted. Lieutenant Fakenham, of the King's Own Light Royal Signals.
My pleasure, Lieutenant. Captain von Galgenstein, von Vasseur's regiment.
And is your regiment at Lippstadt?
No, I am a recruitment officer. Lieutenant Fakenham. I am on a recruitment drive.
Ah, very important, nonetheless.
There is a good inn at the next village. Perhaps we can stop there for refreshments, if you would care to join me.
Thank you, yes, that would be excellent.
Gut, mit Friedrich! Packen ihn! Schnell! Arrest him!
What are you doing? Let go of me! Stop!
You are under arrest, Herr Feckenhammer, whoever you are. You are a deserter from the British Army.
I am not. I am a messenger carrying important missives for General Grimstone.
The general died at the Battle of Kursdorf 8 months ago.
Oh.
Therefore, mein Herr, you have a choice. Either we return you to your regiment, where you will undoubtedly be shot as a deserter, or you can volunteer to enlist in the service of His Majesty Friedrich Wilhelm II of Prussia. In which case, sign here.
Many's the time I took twice as many men on, and beat them soundly, every one. But they had me held fast, and I had no choice but to sign the paper. And no sooner was the ink dry on it than the war was declared over. I was a broken man. Had I stayed in the British service, I would have been on my way back to Ireland. Instead, von Fassar's regiment was returned to Berlin, and me along with it. The conflict known as the 7 Years' War was ended, and I faced the terrible prospect of a future in the Prussian service where, so I was told, beatings, starvation, forced service, and appalling cruelty were commonplace. It was, in truth, somewhat worse in the way of discipline than the British service, but the food was tolerable, and gambling was very common. And my life was made considerably easier in my 3rd year. I was assigned to a regiment of the Guards, and further disgraced my good name and noble lineage by taking the position of Batman to my captain. And Herr Kapitän von Potzdorf was a capable young officer, much admired by young ladies of note in Berlin society. Delivering billets doux to the captain's mistresses gained me entry into all the grand houses of Berlin, although at the back door. I was able also to gain the trust of my captain, which provided the means of my advancement.
Mein Kapitän.
Come in, Barry. This is my uncle, Herr von Goilgruber, that is of the Berlin police.
Angenehm, mein Herr.
We want with you to talk, Barry.
It has been noted that you keep many friendships among the young Fräuleins working in the great houses of the city.
Have I done something wrong?
No, not at all.
On the contrary, we think you may be able to do something very good. Vielleicht.
Yes.
The king likes to keep well informed of what is going on among many visiting nobles in our capital.
Who speaks with whom?
Who likes the young ladies?
Who likes the young boys?
Who gambles too much?
You could to us be very useful, Barry.
And you will be able to spend a good deal of your time talking to the young Fräuleins of Berlin.
You would be well paid and would be able civilian clothes to wear. This is a small gratuity for you.
Thank you, sir.
Your first assignment will be in the household of the Chevalier de Belbary, a papal knight who wears the Order of the Spur. A spy for the Empress Maria Theresa, we think. Though also as a double agent with the British he could be working. It is arranged you will be infiltrated in the guise of a Hungarian manservant. You pretend no knowledge of English, French, or any other language, and to listen closely to what he with his confederates discusses. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Do not bother with his letters. We have them read.
The Chevalier presented the most ornamented and elaborately dressed personage I had ever set eyes on. His clothing was made of the finest materials, embroidered in gold thread and set with paste, and he wore abundant quantities of rouge, paint, and powder. Yet despite the noble old gentleman's heavy maquillage, I experienced a strange sense of recognition.
What's your name, lad?
Radmon.
Radmon. I hope you're honest, Redmond. There's nothing worse than an untrustworthy servant. I set great store by honesty. Why are you staring at me so?
Chevalier de Ballybarry.
Yes.
Cornelius Barry of Ballybarry.
Yes. How do you come to...
Uncle Cornelius?
Redmond? Me little nephew Redmond?
Uncle!
Oh, me boy! Just look at you. I haven't seen you since you were a cub. But you're a fine grown man, Redmond. You're the spit of our Harry.
To meet a Barry after all these years.
Oh, this is wonderful good fortune. We must celebrate. Let's order up a banquet. You shall have anything you want.
I told my uncle a full and colourful account of my adventures, detailing all my exploits and deeds of bravery, by which the good man was obliged to account me a true character of the Barry clan, namely, as wily as a fox and as stubborn as a mule. It was worth more than wealth and fame to me to be able to sit and sup with an Irishman, aye, and a Barry, talking over old family history. The good knight showed no animosity towards me, as well he might, my father having denounced him as a papist and robbed him of his inheritance, but indulged me with the best wines and the finest delicacies of the table. He maintained, none the less, his firm adherence to the Romish superstition, though with necessary qualification.
I work for whoever pays the most, dear boy. Sometimes Louis, sometimes the Empress Queen, playing out minor intrigues which have a small but significant part in the balance of powers. Most of my income, of course, I make from my card school.
Card school?
Yes. Technically illegal here in Prussia, though everyone turns a blind eye. Usually. I had problems in certain other duchies and principalities.
Ah.
Yes. But I have a good technique for cheating at faro and can make a reasonable living from it. And now that you're to work here, Redmond, I shall teach it to you, and you shall be my accomplice in your guise of Hungarian manservant, all profits shared.
But what about von Potsdorf? I could be hanged as a traitor.
Oh, I'll tell you what to say to von Potsdorf. Don't worry about him. The arts of gentlemanly cheating. There are many basic ruses. Distractions, use of confederates, use of reflective surfaces to read cards, marking of cards, but this is a special technique. One of the attractions of faro to the gamester is that it's almost impossible to cheat.
So the average player does not look for it.
Precisely. I can see this'll work a treat. We shall be quite rich.
Barry, get in here!
Capitaine?
Why do you not do your job? I ask you on Ballybarry to spy, and you bring me stories of old men discussing the new danseuse at the ballet. And this morning, sadly, has my uncle told me, Major Hackfleisch and Prince von Wursthout were last night at the game of the Chevalier. Why have you not told me there were Prussian officers at his card school?
I didn't know they were Prussians, sir. They weren't in uniform.
Mein Gott, can you not tell a German accent, Dummkopf?
I hadn't considered that, Capitaine.
This is not good. The king can foreign noblemen gambling amongst themselves tolerate, but when it involves officers of the Prussian army, then it is becoming a danger to the operational effectiveness. Ballybarry must be expelled. Tomorrow on his morning ride he will be seized and to the Saxon border escorted. His possessions will be sent on afterwards. That way I can look through his trunk. You must go about your work as normal and await my oncoming. Dismissed.
What are we to do? I shall be left here alone again.
Do you think I'd leave my own nephew here, a virtual prisoner of the Prussian army? No, indeed, Redmond. Here's what we must do. Pay close attention.
The next morning I found myself attired in some very fine vestments, wearing a great deal of rouge and a heavily powdered wig.
Halt! Chevalier de Ballybarry!
Yes?
We have orders to escort you to the Saxon border.
Boys, oh dear. But why, me lad? On what grounds?
You are to be deported on the orders of the War and Domains Board. Come and see.
This is intolerable altogether. And me a papal knight, too.
And then what?
Well, I made such a terrible fuss. A captain of the guards breaking into my trunk and my manservant stealing my coach and clothes. Such that, in order to avoid a diplomatic incident, the Prussian treasury was obliged to advance me a generous compensation through the Austrian embassy, with the polite request that I quit Berlin, which I was only too happy to do.
To liberty!
To liberty and fortune.
What now, though?
Tomorrow, we make our way to the court at Dresden. I've some old friends there. Our prospects are bright. We'll soon have our Pharaoh Bank up and running.
We must make a fortune, Uncle. I can never live like that again, deprived of my freedom.
Indeed, dear boy. You're my son. I will not allow it.
We'll make our fortune, Uncle, and live the life of gentlemen thereafter. Why are you determined to continue extending credit to these people?
Trust me, Redmond. We're doing handsomely.
I think it unwise, Uncle. We could have a fortune in cash now, and all we have is bits of paper.
Nephew, the gambling continues long after the bank is closed. And there are many good, noble souls in that ballroom, dancing the minuet with their mistresses, whose notes of hand I'd rather have than their cash. It creates leverage.
I had the finest suits, jewels and trinkets, rode in a splendid coach and four, and had my own coat of arms designed and emblazoned on it. Our bank was frequented by the cream of Saxon society, and we were living in great wealth and splendour. The last thing we needed at that point was an incident. But the one thing a Barry cannot have is an Englishman mocking his bloodlines.
Whose coach is that?
It's my coach. Why?
Oh, who are you?
I am Captain Redmond Barry of Barry Ogue. Who are you?
Sir Wamford Bumford, at your service, Captain.
Why do you laugh, sir?
But it's your coat of arms. It has a ducal coronet on it. You're not a duke.
That's not a coronet, sir. It's a royal crown.
Oh.
On account of my descent from Brian Boru, or Barry, High King of Ireland.
High King of Ireland? But did you ever?
You mock my lineage, sir. You shall answer for your impudence on the field of honour, sir.
How dare you?
The Hock Kerkeveld. Dawn tomorrow. This time there was no mistake. No balls of tow. At dawn the next day, Bumford, still carousing from the night before, arrived at the field with a party of young gentlemen. Damn fool. If there is one thing I cannot tolerate in a man, it is arrogance.
9, 10.
Does anyone else care to question the nobility of my family?
Really, nephew, this is most inconvenient.
I am sorry, Uncle.
I mean, I fully understand your motives, but Bumford, the English ambassador's son...
I know, Uncle. But I have always found the English rather hard to get along with. By noon that day, my uncle and I were far from Saxony, but once again, thanks to circumstance, in near penury. We had only a small sum between us, and what clothes and jewels we were able to carry away on our flight from Dresden. But we were men of courage, and knights of the Bay's table, and could not be bested by adversity. We made for Zweibrücken that very night, where we played and won some 8,000 ducats at the table of the renowned Count von Steinkopf. Within 6 weeks we had amassed a small fortune in coin and gems, so much so that we felt our safety in peril and were obliged to leave. In Darmstadt we lost a legendary duel of the dice against Prince Pückler Muskau, lasting 3 days and costing us very dearly. But we lost in style, and though I threatened to cut his gizzard for cheating, the next evening I danced a minuet with the Grand Duchess his mother as light-heartedly as any macaroni in the room. At Brussels my renown as gentleman of honour grew when I pinked the Duc de Malventre over Madame de Coulcanard, the courtesan. However, at the court of Mark, things went against us. We formed a confederacy with the famous Italian gamester, Count Pio Pippi, who proved to be a fraud, a liar, and a scoundrel, and robbed us of every pfennig we possessed. It was in this sad condition that we arrived in the Duchy of Rotflug, one of the lesser courts of the empire.
What now?
Now, my dear nephew, we do what men in dire financial straits must do.
Which is?
Marry.
Marry?
I am, it goes without saying, much too old, too poor, and too ugly to marry. So it stands to reason we must get you married, my boy, as soon as is practicable, to a woman who is undoubtedly very rich, preferably titled, and ideally in the final stages of some fatal illness.
I'm not entirely convinced, Chevalier.
Redmond, it's merely gambling at a bigger table and for a greater prize. There are an abundance of suitable heiresses at Rotflug, so we should have no difficulty finding a suitable candidate. Even one who's pretty.
What do we have to do?
Well, in these smaller courts, breeding counts for a great deal, and matchmaking is conducted with great formality. We'll be required to produce pedigrees and estate plans and rent rolls. I think I've found your bride-to-be, my lad.
Ah, who is she?
I've just been presented to her, the Princess Ida of Grisvink-Vink.
Is she rich?
Fabulously. Sole heiress to Prince Wolfgang, Elector of Vink, reputed to be worth 60,000 a year upon marriage, to say nothing of her inheritance when old Wolfgang kicks it. Apparently, the Duke is in the process of arranging her engagement to Baron de Magny. Now, you wouldn't let a fella like that best you in competition, Redmond, would you? A powdered, foppish, cowardly Frenchman with no backbone, who is immoderately fond of playing Pharaoh.
A man of my character, with my new pedigrees, estate plans, and rent rolls, should easily defeat the likes of him. We engaged Magny at every opportunity and played him to the point of ruination, then demanded that he pay with the one thing of value in his possession, the hand of Princess Ida. The cowardly French dog surrendered without a fight, though I had my sword drawn in case he should resist. And this being achieved, my uncle had great success in pressing my claim.
Well?
The Duke will favour the marriage.
Yes! Excellent news, Uncle!
Poor Magny has clearly been very supportive and influential. God and his mother bless him. And they examined your pedigrees and found them to be all in order. The Duke was very impressed indeed by the extent of your estates in Wales.
First class. And old Venk, Ida's father, he will give his blessing to the Duke's choice?
He'll fall into line, sure and certain. In fact, the only obstacle that remains is Ida herself.
How so?
Well, when told of the matter, she reportedly fainted with the word never.
No matter. Her opinion is poor defence against my determination. I am decided, Uncle. I'll marry this stubborn princess and be a gentleman forever.
Unfortunately, Magny was terribly distraught about his loss of the princess and her wonderful fortune, and decided to end his pathetic existence. And sadly for the entire duchy, and most especially for me, who had invested money and effort and all my hopes in her, the young Princess Ida proved utterly inconsolable about the loss of her young beau and her impending marriage, and took to her bedchamber, refusing to eat. In the end, she confounded me entirely, dying, as they said, of a broken heart 5 weeks later.
Quite the most impressive funeral, huh? What a turnout. The noblest and highest people in the whole world are represented.
Yes, let me see.
Have you seen any likely candidates?
Lady Dashur? No. What about the Comtesse de Chevre?
She hasn't actually got that much money. Her estate is deeply in debt, and she's over 60, Redmond. Quite hideous.
Look, Duchess Hilda of Hock-Hinkenberg.
Rumoured to be engaged to the third son of Denmark. There's the young lady Anne Goodwin. But there's no title, and they've little in property.
There has to be someone.
Ah! That's your wife right there, my boy. Take a look.
Who's she?
Lady Honoraria Lyndon Niederberg. Countess of Lyndon, Viscountess Bullingdon, and Baroness Hackton in her own right. One of the richest women in all Britain. And an Irish woman, too.
And who's that man?
Ah, that's Lord Lyndon.
I thought he was dead.
He was supposed to be, but he stubbornly refuses to go.
How very inconvenient.
Don't worry about him. He's been dying for about 10 years now. I heard he was on his last leg 6 months ago. I'd say they've stopped here en route to Spa, in the county of Limburg, to spend the season.
And how would you like to take the curative waters yourself, Uncle? Hmm?
Do you know, that's an excellent idea, nephew. My gut's been playing me up lately.
Anyway, I think we've done rather well in Rotflug. Lord Lyndon, I believe.
How do you do, sir?
Cornelius, Comte de Ballybarry. This is my nephew, the famous Captain Barry.
My lord.
I've heard of you at Rotflug, Captain, also at Zweibrücken.
We're assembling a small company for whist this evening, my lord, at the ridotto of the Duchess de Auvergne-Moisy. The Duchess had hoped that you'd be kind enough to grace the company.
Whist, eh? Sounds a bit tame to me. Don't you champs gamble at all?
Oh, I'm sure, Lord Lyndon, that a few wagers may be placed in the course of the evening.
In that case, can't see why not.
And are we to have the opportunity of meeting the lovely Countess, your wife, my lord?
I'm not in the habit of bringing along my wife, Captain, when I go out to enjoy myself. One.
Nephew?
Two.
The bank will have one.
So, my lord, I believe your wife is an avid horticulturalist.
My wife hasn't the least interest in gardens.
Really? So what does interest the Countess, then?
Believe me, Captain Barry, I know your motives and can only laugh at the vanity of them.
But I...
Someday, sir, you will be dying as I am, and all the money in the world won't save you.
My lord, I only meant to make idle...
Settle yourself, Barry. We're all men here. You wish to play for my wife, sir. You wish to know what interests her, so that you may make pleasant conversation with her when I am safely out of the way. Well, I shall tell you, Barry.
Well?
She's a blue stocking. She likes books, sir, and philosophers. All she is interested in is the welfare of the poor and the meaning of life, and does God exist in an eternal present?
Oh.
Yes, can you imagine how dreadfully bored I have been listening to her for the last 20 years? And you want to fill my shoes, do you? Beware your ambitions for greatness, Mr. Barry.
Believe me, if I win your wife, sir, she will not bore me with her philosophy. I will be master in my own house.
Oh, you think you will, do you, Barry? You do not know my wife.
She is a woman, and I know women.
Many a man has been brought low by woman before now, Barry. King.
You win the hand, Lord Lyndon.
I am not certain it is so simple, mon capitaine.
Look, it's perfectly simple, you odious cleric. I have employed you to explain the principles of life to me, and the great debates of the age. I have engaged this lady in a correspondence, and I can't make any sense whatever of her letters, and you are supposed to help.
But when the good lady speaks of the soul, we must know in the first place if she speaks of her own soul or the soul as a thesis in an
shut
abstract...
up. Quiet. Oh, this is utterly pointless.
Indeed it is, Redmond. The Lyndons left this morning for Paris. They're returning, apparently, to their estates in Ireland.
The vexations that woman put me to. It seemed matrimonial bliss was to evade me again, and I cursed Lady Lyndon and her diseased old husband for all I was worth. Then, out of the blue, came news so good we had hardly dared ever to hope it.
Oh, my boy! Read it! Read it!
Society mourns. Lyndon's dead.
This is your chance, lad. You must return to Ireland.
Ireland?
Yes, Ireland. Of course, Lady Lyndon will be in mourning for a period, But you can make yourself busy getting to know our circle and establishing a figure at Dublin.
But your attainder not reversed.
No.
You won't be able to come with me. They'll imprison you.
I'm afraid that is so, nephew.
Oh, uncle.
Sadly, I must remain here with my simple life of pleasure. You must carry on the process of building a fortune without me.
Oh.
Pack at once. I go to redeem some of our valuables. You'll need money.
And so I took my leave of my dear uncle at the dockside in Brest, with my heart breaking, and tears streaming down my face, for I have never suffered a want of fine feeling. And I took my leave of the courts of Europe, where I had arrived a penniless foot soldier, a mere boy, with not a farthing to my name. Now I left as a gentleman, who had established a reputation for dauntless courage in war and on the field of honour, who had courted the loveliest of ladies at the finest of Europe's courts, and who had made a fortune on the gaming tables. Now, finally, I was to return in splendour and state to Ireland, my home, the land of my birth.
In episode 1 of Thackeray's Barry Lyndon, dramatised by Don McCampbell, the part of Barry was played by Gerard McSorley, Redmond by Andrew Scott, the Chevalier by David Kelly, and Belle Barry by Sheila Hancock. Lord Lyndon and von Groilgruber were Kenneth Cranham, Madame Fitzsimons, Tina Kelleher, Fitzsimons and von Galgenstein, Kevin Flood, Sir Rumford Bumford and Fakenham, Jamie Foreman, Captain Fagan, Frank O'Sullivan, John Quinn and the stable owner, Mark Lambert, von Pottsdorf and the priest, Don Wycherley, Ulick, Dara Kelly, Mick, Aina McLean, and Nora Alice Barry. Other parts were played by members of the cast. Barry Lyndon was directed in Belfast by Lawrence Jackson.